The GPS DairyCast features the high-value insights of the GPS Dairy Consulting team's trusted advisors and the owners and managers from the elite dairy farms they serve. These conversations deliver on the GPS Dairy Consulting promise to inspire change and grow leaders.
Welcome to the GPS DairyCAST. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen from the Up-Level Dairy Podcast, and today on this episode, we're introducing you to a special conversation that highlights an effort made on behalf of the GPS Dairy Consulting team, and that is a strategic alliance with Nutrition Professionals Incorporated, NPI. And here to tell that story and to tell you what that strategic alliance means to you as a dairy producer and the benefits that it brings to the industry that they serve are Robb Bender, GPS Dairy Consultant team member, and Matt Waldon from NPI. Welcome, Robb and Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So to kick us off, Robb, a lot of our listeners are familiar with you from your work with GPS or have heard you on the GPS DairyCast before, but I do want you to just take one moment, if anyone isn't as familiar, catch us up a little bit on who you are, what you do, and your role with the GPS Dairy Consulting team.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Peggy. My name is Robb Bender, based out of Watertown, Wisconsin, and I'm a consultant with GPS Dairy Consulting, primarily based in eastern Wisconsin, and then get over to Michigan as well for some dairy visits. So I spend most of my time actively on-farm consulting with dairy producers, and then for the GPS business, I would be managing director of the business, helping shape and direct the business direction with the rest of the leadership team at GPS.
Thanks, Robb. And Matt, you are a new voice and face here on the GPS DairyCast, but not a new voice and face to the dairy industry, especially in the nutrition world. Give us a quick little intro. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, thanks again for having me, and thanks for GPS to put this little platform forward. So Matt Waldron, I live in Chilton, Wisconsin. And as you said, I work for Nutrition Professionals, Inc., or NPI, as we lovingly like to call ourselves. And I work in northeast Wisconsin primarily. Basically 80 miles or so from the house is where I spend most of my time. I do get out of state a little bit, do a little work in Texas and Colorado. But mostly I like to be home here where I can be with my family and all in northeast Wisconsin. Within Nutrition Professionals, I guess technically speaking, I'm the president, but we're a pretty flat organization and we're all pretty much the same. I just have to sign some papers. So that's my role in MPI, but just a dairy management consultant with Nutrition Professionals.
And give an introduction, if you would, to Nutrition Professionals as well.
So Nutrition Professionals has a kind of a beautiful history, if you will. Started back in 1983 by Lynn Davis and Tom Haig. They were the original founding partners, and it was at a time they really brought independent consulting to Wisconsin, is my understanding. They had gotten out of their PhD work at Iowa State, and at that time, Lynn had done some consulting down in Iowa and working, I think, with Kent Nelson, and he decided to bring that model back home to the Wisconsin area and brought Tom along with him, and so those two founded it in a time when it was independent consulting really wasn't a thing at that point. It was feed companies, and so they brought really a new model to the state, and so that was in 1983. And soon after, they added a number of partners. And so Nutrition Professionals has typically existed is about 6 to 10 consultants within the group. And that's where we're at today. We're 7 consultants, and we'd like to stay in that kind of small to medium-sized range. We're not fancy. We like to think we do a great job of what we do, but we have a role, and we recognize what that is, and that's what we do. So there's 7 of us today, and with that, Lynn Davis has pulled back. So Lynn and Tom, our 2 founders, are still part of NPI. And then we have the Woodford brothers, Steve and Jim. And then along with that, we have Rick Lundquist, who joined a while ago and is with us from Lundquist & Associates, and Jake Sayre and myself, and I think that's what we've got. So Bob Harrison has recently retired, and we've had a number of other really wonderful consultants over the years that have since retired, and we've had just a great history, we like to think, in Wisconsin. So I guess as far as the strategy goes, traditionally we have been PhD consultants, starting with the original with Lynn and Tom. But recently, our most recent hire, going back now, he's been 5 or 6 years, Jake Sayre. We've moved away from that strategy and it worked out really well. Jake's done a great job for us. He has a bachelor's, but the rest of us have PhDs, and that's kind of been the way that we've gone about our business, and reflects a little bit of as we'll get into, I think, with some of your other questions.
Well, excellent. Thank you for a little background for those who aren't as familiar with NPI, Nutrition Professionals Incorporated. And one of the similarities that I can see looking at these two organizations, NPI and GPS, is really this consultative model that, as you said, NPI was really an outlier and a pioneer starting in 1983. You said. And GPS is one that was a pioneer in that field as well, of really looking at how can we take these independent nutritionists and put them in a way to be collective and to serve dairy producers at an even higher level and bring additional value to those dairy farming businesses. And that's what both of your teams have done. And so fast forward to last year at the GPS Leaders Forum in December, there was an announcement of the strategic alliance between GPS and NPI. And so what is the strategic alliance?
Well, yeah, the strategic alliance, that was something that we had been talking about for a while. We probably 6 or 8 months, at least prior to the announcement at Leaders Forum, we'd begun conversations, the two groups, NPI and GPS. And I think exactly as you stated, the two businesses have a lot in common. And at the same time, there's a few differences we saw as potential strengths for each other. And so we felt that we were very complementary in a lot of ways. And so we began some conversations to see if there might be anything there going forward. And so it developed into the strategic alliance that is an ongoing partnership, if you will, or relationship, I guess. And we're just bringing our teams together, and we're using it as a chance for cross-pollination, if you will, of ideas and education. And we'll see where it goes in the future as far as our businesses. At this point, our businesses, we've opted to remain independent of each other, but at the same time, we come together and contribute to each other's knowledge base and just work with each other in those ways. So we think it's a great relationship and will serve our dairy clients very, very well as it brings the strength of both groups together.
And Rob, you mentioned earlier that part of your role with the GPS team, in addition to your role on farm, is in that business development and looking ahead at GPS and as an organization moving forward. And so for GPS, what did you see as some of the shared values and the value that together an alliance with NPI could bring to the industry and your clients?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we look at it as very, very similar to what Matt was saying. The organizations are very complementary. We have quite a few similarities in core values, putting the client first, commitment to science-based information on the marketplace, really trying to do everything we can to help the client succeed at their goals. Being very collaborative, teamwork based, integrity as a core value is absolutely crucial. So we're very similar among core values, and then complementary in strengths. As Matt very well explained, NPI has a long history of being independent consultants across the Midwest, perhaps starting in Wisconsin. So they have a lot of experiences that we definitely wanted to tap into, learn from, bring some of those things back to our clients. And vice versa. I think that we have some strengths that NPI, both their team of consultants and client base, can utilize as well. And some of those things might be our education events, some of our structural organization across the state, just things like that we can really share resources and bring value to both groups, and especially the client, keeping the client at the forefront.
So keeping the client at the forefront, coming together with pooling some of those resources and the knowledge. And what else does that look like in action, this strategic alliance? Does that mean that, for example, the NPI team becomes part of Leaders Forum in bringing their team and their clients, or herd manager retreat, or some of the other educational efforts that GPS orchestrates?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that are apparent. One of them is definitely getting the NPI team and their clients involved in our education events, like you alluded to, Peggy. So at Leaders Forum coming up here in a couple weeks, one of the NPI clients is a speaker, for instance. Several of the consultants will be there representing the NPI team. So anytime you can tap into a broader network of dairies that have similar core values, similar experiences, and get them involved in the events and group, that helps everybody succeed. And the same goes for the NPI team. Over the past years, some of the NPI team and their clients have showed up at our events, which is great. That'll continue and hopefully strengthen in the future. And so that's a key component of the strategic alliance. And I would say another one that sort of happens a little bit behind the scenes that our clients may not see as often at the forefront is that our teams do a lot more collaboration. So we do a lot more internal education events, whether that's webinars to share experiences on recent products in the industry, for example, and how our herds have performed on products, or just tapping into a breadth of experiences over many, many years of being in the industry and providing more foundation for going back to clients and saying, okay, now I'm working with a broader team of consultants that has an even broader list of experiences to share. So that's sort of internal and behind the scenes, but I think the clients will see that coming forward as well.
And Matt, anything to add?
On one hand, at the forefront, nothing has changed. We go to work exactly the same as we always have, and our NPI clients, we continue on. Then also the opportunity for our clients to be able to be involved. So NPI, I like to think of us as we're really good at what we do, but we're not real fancy. And I wouldn't necessarily say that the things that GPS does are fancy, but they certainly have broken ground on some things that are useful for dairy clients. And so things like the Leaders Forum, the feeder training, the herdsman retreats, those type of things hold some real value for dairy clients. And that's not something that NPI has been focused on. We've been focused on our clients day to day, and we haven't necessarily looked at those cross-farm training opportunities the way that GPS does. And so in many ways, things are exactly the same for our clients, but yet they have the opportunities now to be involved in some of those really nice efforts that GPS has done and that we can help with in the background as far as supporting those and developing those. So in some ways, nothing's changed. In other ways, there's been a really nice complement that our NPI clients now can take advantage of if they would like to.
If you're enjoying this podcast and you want to learn more about GPS Dairy Consulting, make sure to join our email list. Our announcements aren't just for GPS clients, but instead for anyone looking to advance their dairy business, learn more about GPS, and take a deeper dive into dairy farming hot topics. Stay in the loop with our once-weekly emails and have all GPS DairyCAST podcasts, blog posts, event announcements, and monthly newsletters sent straight to your inbox. You can join the GPS email list by clicking the link in the show notes.
What an incredible value add on both sides. A value add of opportunities for clients, a value add of a larger network of producers that both of you serve, but also of the knowledge and the wisdom and experience of collaborating from the consultancy standpoint with others that can bring what they're seeing and their herds that they're serving to the table for those conversations so that you can continue to do what you have dedicated yourselves to do, and that is to growing and serving the dairy community and your clients through leadership, through growth, and through those initiatives that you both come together on.
Just the ability to tap into a broader network. When you look across our teams, and I was just doing some math here, between the two teams, we're probably 25, 30 consultants now, which is really pretty impressive. And there's a lot of years of some pretty profound experience on the team. There's not much our collective teams haven't seen and experienced in the industry. And just the ability to go back to a group and say, hey, I'm experiencing this on a dairy, or we're having troubles with this or whatever. What's your experience? Chances are pretty good that somebody's seen it, somebody's done it, and probably more than one person has. And so that brings direct value to our consultants.
Yeah, I would just extend that just a little bit. I think that Robb did a really nice job of explaining that kind of behind the scenes where the advantages come, and in the end it ends up benefiting the dairy producer. But the combination of the number of consultants, the geography covered, we didn't really talk a lot about geography, but the NPI team, for example, we're strong in Wisconsin, but we get out to from Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Texas, Florida, cover quite a bit of geography. And so there's two things with that, is that one is that you bring that experience, but kind of combined is sometimes there's things to be learned by having consultants in other geographies in the type of forages they may be facing, the environmental conditions, the management conditions, facilities, that bringing that back to the team and being able to do that. So with this group of 22, 23 consultants and an extensive geography, I think that that's just something that we're upping the value every day as we go by collaborating together for our clients. So it's not something that necessarily is just some big thing that is going to make a news story, but hopefully it just is helping us serve our clients better each and every day. So the other piece I would say that is useful, and this is one of the things that we looked at talking about complementarity, is the difference in profile. We've got a lot of very seasoned consultants, and GPS has as well, but GPS has also done a great job of bringing in youth. That's one of the things that we look at, and we want to learn from them as far as bringing in some youth on our NPI team, because they do an outstanding job of that. And so I think that, again, from a complementary standpoint, having a bunch of us, I'd say seasoned, another word for old maybe, but that we can help to serve as mentors and trainers for some of those new employees. I think that that's another kind of behind the scene thing that we bring that is going to really help our clients or the dairy clients in the future. So that, sharing interns, a number of things that it just makes sense.
You talked about the advantages of bringing together consultants in different parts of the country that represent different geographies, different experiences. And in the past year, our dairy industry has faced a huge challenge with the H5N1. And so with having consultants working so closely in lockstep with producers as they were going through challenges in different regions of the country, did you see a value or benefit in that pooling of conversations within your consultancy team that could help provide a benefit to other herds as far as how to prepare for disease, how to prepare for a potential outbreak should that happen at their dairies, and just being better equipped to be of the highest level of service to the producers in preparation for what could be a really challenging time on their dairies? Was that something that came up in the past year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a very good example. Ironically, it was similar in both teams for the NPI teams and the GPS teams. Both groups had dairies that were affected very early on, some of the earliest dairies that were infected with the influenza. And so that served as a learning curve for us as consultants as we were trying to help our clients, but then it served as we were right there on the front lines early, and we're able to bring that back to our teams and what we had learned, and then also back to our dairies. And so I think that that's just one example of being out and having a core number of consultants and being in different geographies, some of those things that can be extremely useful to clients. That it's a whole different way of thinking. Sometimes in for example, in the Wisconsin market, we have a certain way of doing things. And what we realize is the more that you get out and work in other markets, is there's not one right way to do anything in the industry. There's a whole bunch of different ways. And so if we can bring those experiences that we learn in other geographies as we work back to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin ideas out to other geographies, that's just a win-win for our dairy clients. So really great point there as far as how that avian influenza was a great example of some value that we believe that we brought extra to our clients and to our teams.
And so even in just 1 year's time with the strategic alliance, there's already been direct benefit in not just the area of feed and nutrition, but in the broader area of expertise, of networking, of those conversations that you could have collectively that could really be of utmost importance in a time of potential crisis. And so that's where the real value is captured on the producer side of what your organizations have decided to do, the leadership that you've shown in coming together to take this stride. So just for clarity to any of the folks that are listening, GPS is its own standalone brand. NPI is its own standalone brand. Those things haven't changed, But what is changing are more of the behind the scenes things that elevate the value and also the opportunities to bring consultants and producers from both sides of those organizations in person and together or through different types of networking to be able to have those conversations that can help them to continue to grow as leaders and to inspire the change that it takes to be successful in the dairy industry. And anything else that you would like to add today about the strategic alliance between NPI and GPS?
We definitely look forward to continuing this. We're about a year in now. We're getting to know, our teams are getting to know each other really well. We're interacting more and more. So I think the value proposition is just going to continue going higher as we move forward. So look forward to another really good year coming up and ability to share experiences and learn from the team at NPI.
Matt, anything else on your end?
No, I guess I would really echo what both of you just said. I think that it's so far been an excellent relationship and excellent not just from our own business standpoints, but really from our dairy clients' standpoint. That we believe that the relationship is helping that value proposition that we really are bringing. Whether we were together or not formally as far as a business unit, that's not the important stuff. The important stuff is really that education and the sharing of ideas and information behind the scenes that we think makes this relationship so powerful and so helpful for our dairy clients. So I think you guys said it well.
And one of the ways that this will manifest in the near future is with the GPS Leaders Forum, and that is right around the corner. And so, Rob, do you want to just take a moment and remind people about this highlight event that's coming up in December and give us a thing or two that you're most excited about with this year's Leader Forum?
Leaders Forum is coming up. It's December 3rd in the evening. It starts with a reception, and the 4th and the 5th are jam-packed agenda full of really good industry and dairy producer speakers and content that we're really looking forward to sharing. So definitely would encourage anybody to attend that's considering it and really look forward to seeing you in Twin Cities in a couple weeks.
And Matt, you'll be there too?
Absolutely.
Any speakers you guys are particularly excited to hear from at Leaders Forum this year?
Well, I'm a little biased, as Rob indicated. One of my clients is going to be speaking, so always enjoy listening to what Lee Kennard has to say. But last year's slate was we went last year and very impressive. The Leaders Forum GPS team does just an amazing job with it, and all their support that's coming from the dairy industry that allows to make it possible. It's just amazing. It's a very good conference and really was focused on things that were useful for the dairy producer. And so I thought it was great and look forward to another great platform this year.
Excellent. All right. And Rob, any highlights you're particularly excited about for this year?
I'm pretty biased because I'm involved in the agenda behind the scenes, but I think there's a really good slate of speakers related to a few themes. One is dairy financials and our partnership with the AgriGrow Solutions team and what they're bringing forward. We have quite a few speakers on dairy innovation and technologies coming forward, people strategy, people development on your dairies, as well as sort of global markets and where the industry is going. So I'm looking forward to the agenda. I think it's a good one. I think the speakers are great, and I think you'll enjoy it. So look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, so that's a packed couple of days with GPS Leaders Forum, and there'll be a link in the show notes for those that are looking for a little bit of more information on the premier event from GPS Dairy Consulting that's held every year. And so, Rob and Matt, thank you for jumping on for the GPS DairyCAST, and I'm Peggy Coffeen from the Up Level Dairy Podcast, and we thank you for jumping in and listening today.
The GPS DairyCAST features conversations that deliver on the GPS Dairy Consulting promise to inspire change and grow leaders. If this GPS DairyCAST has you looking for more ways to become an elite dairy producer, find more information in our show notes on how you can add a GPS advisor to your team.